Is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
To Guardian Radio AM. Today is Tuesday, February 13th.
Hold on. Let me say something.
What you want to say?
First of all, before you all start talking about Lilith and putting her in a place, I'd just like to say good morning and happy birthday to Dr. Cromel Saunders at the University of the Bahamas and Miss Lynn Lowe.
Any of them have the Lilith spirit? Just asking, because I see that little spirit is just show up at times.
It just show up right now it just show up
in the middle of people introduction. You just jump in.
What a joyous intervention.
They call that. We can talk about that today. We can talk about Lilith. That's what we're talking about. That how you're like when control. Anyway, let's go.
I stand reprimanded.
And happy birthday, by the way. And how you doing, Aaron?
I good.
Good. Today we have. Cajon, Cleveland Aeneas III in studio. We tend to have a series every Tuesday as we try to see another aspect of Christianity. You call it a different name. What other word do you call it? Use it again.
Christianity.
Christianity. And what language that is, by the way. I just want to start it off. So. Because you just pronounce things differently.
Yeah, that's the Tamarack language, the ancient. It comes from the Bantu cluster of languages.
Well, I am Bantu. You can look at me and see I'm from the Bantu movement.
So when all those languages were one, we called it Tamarack.
And where did you learn this Tamarack language?
I learned it through the Holy Coptic Church. We are in our seminary. I'm still learning it. It's a life, long journey of understanding how the languages. Because when you look at Hebrew and Arabic and all of these different dialects, they come out of one mother tongue. That one mother tongue is the Tamarack.
The Tamarack.
Yeah.
And we had last week the Pope here.
Yes, our Coptic Pope, Rev. Dr. A.J. Varma was with us and a time, but he definitely enjoyed being here. And he may be listening today. I did send him the link, so
and
I want to say good morning
He
to him.
is the one and his church who teach you the Tamarack language?
Correct. So he had a teacher who made sure that not only he, but many of them learned the Arabic and the Hebrew, the Greek, the Latin. They had teachers that came in to the community and taught them. He learned from at the age of 12. And so he was one of those who grasped that language, 5 different languages, in fact, whereby now he teaches us what he has learned, and of course now through technology you have a lot of ways to grasp language in ways that you couldn't before.
I see you, and I can compare you to Miles Monroe now, right? Good company to be in. Mm-hmm. You tend to be one of those teaching pastors who has used language and the meaning of words as part of your sermon.
Yeah.
Where did I know? You tell me where you learned the language from, but in terms of pronunciation, because your whole mouth is contort and change when you pronounce words. It's like you know what you're saying.
It's first of all a lot of study, and then also understanding what original languages did for us. Certain sounds, when you only speak English, for example, you are literally speaking a language that does not have certain enunciation, certain clicks. In South African languages, you still have that click as they're speaking, that Hausa language. Yeah, those clicks and those different enunciations actually cause certain parts of the brain to be activated.
The sound itself?
The sound is a vibration. So if you don't have that language that you originally spoke, it literally causes certain parts of the brain to what they call atrophy. If you don't use it, you lose it.
The Tibetan monks have this thing called the
Correct.
where they go I used to try to do that You even say it differently from me.
Because that comes out of aun, A-U-N. That's the original African way of enunciating or saying that particular chant or vibration. That's the original sound of creation. That and they even had a more like they would have a more guttural. Bassett does it much better than I do. But the reality is you had existence and then you had creation. Creation, if we look at it in terms of biology, when that sperm hits that egg, that's a big bang to microscopic organisms. So we often talk about the Big Bang. Mm-hmm. Relatively speaking, that's a big bang. And that disturbs that which existed before the Big Bang. That disturbance of sound has a vibration. And so within the Tamarack and within the records, you would learn of this word existence, kaun fin. And then you have creation, chalug. The chalug would be this word creation. So that word, that KH, the ch, we don't say that in English. You don't say chalug, you say kalug. We wouldn't say chalug. So we have been trained to speak a language as our original way of speaking, whereby we don't actually utilize our full brain. We use our full brain, but not all at the same time. If you understand what I'm saying. That's why they'll say you only use about 10% of your brain. It's not that you don't use your whole brain, but you don't use it all at the same time, which is what we originally were able to do when we had our original languages and our way of life.
I was just want to do that as part of the introduction for today's conversation. Again, we have Cleveland Ineas III, who is known as a Cahoon, Uncle Sarah, who's in studio with me. I know that there's in the Bible verse that says, at the end, our Lord will be pouring out his spirit, right?
Joel 2:28.
Can you know that quote, the direct quote for that? Joel 2.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, because I believe that it's the Spirit of God that is keeping us safe now in this Bahamas, in terms that it would have been far worse. This crime spree they keep on talking about, it would have been far worse if we didn't have Christian people praying, intervening, consulting God and say, Lord, protect this country because the devil is present.
Is that how he is aware? Because I thought he was aware because we keep printing the stories on the front page.
I see what you're doing.
But it's the prayers.
Right, I think prayers changes things. I spiritual people.
But that's what folks meant when he said it's the faith that moved the mountain.
And there's a faith that moved the mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, he said the faith, but he said it's the faith that moved the mountain.
Joel 2:28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and old men shall dream dreams, and young men shall see visions.
And I believe that's the time we are in. Mm-hmm. And because that's the time we are in, we have a number of these new age, old age, ancient religions showing their face back up, right? Because I think God is calling them to, hey, remember me, right? The God of your father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember me. And this is what is happening now. There are a number of persons say, hey, something about origin is important.
Yeah.
But this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lilith. I remember Aaron, so that's where I'm going to bait Aaron. Ready for me, Aaron?
You see, I have on my shark shirt today.
I see that. I can bait you.
Lisa.
When I was about 12, I came across a strange Bible. It was a strange Bible left inside car. Mm-hmm. I had to go in this car and move 25 cents every so often until he tell me I can't move his quarters no more. It was what I call a large Bible. Mm-hmm. They call it the large Bible. And I was privileged to say, man, I can read this, man. They have all kind of different stories, biblical stories, right? Of course, my father reprimanded me where I get this large Bible from. I said, I get it from you. I get your Bible. That's in your thing. Over the years, I've been accosted by various lodges. Say, man, you should join. This is a good institution to be a part of. My stepfather said, under his dead body, I join it for whatever reason. And I have not committed to any lodge in respect to him because he doesn't want me to join any lodge. And I said, no problem, Dad. I can join no lodge.
You don't want to be a Mason?
It didn't matter if I want.
He didn't want you to be a Mason.
He just don't want me to be.
He didn't want you to
reason.
know how to build temple.
That's what it is, right? And I tell you all that story, a story to get to this, right? In that book, that ancient book, there was a story about Adam, story about giants, story about this creature, this creation, this person, this woman, this female, named Lilith.
Something about that book because I think I had a copy of that too, and I lent it to my neighbor, and his father took it, and my neighbor looked me straight in my eye and said, "My daddy take that," and he ain't giving it back to me.
And that, don't even ask
And
for
that, the same talk about giants and
Yeah.
Lilith and
So I grew up with a story that Adam had two wives. He had this Eve, and he had Lilith. I also came across another story that said Adam had three wives. Few people know that Adam had three wives. I know we spoke to Uncle Sarah and said, man, you Newry, there were three different Adams. And each Adam had a wife, each Adam have a different narrative, each Adam have a story. And it all depends on which Adam you're speaking about. There is a different story. But I don't want to talk about a different three narrative because he's talking about Lilith. And I want him to go to his scriptures and his books to concentrate on whatever Lilith is. I'm beating up the story. I ain't reached you yet, Uncle. Just,
Come on.
you get all the scriptures you inside this book. What that book is that you have there, by the way?
These are the original books of the Bible. This one is the African book of Genesis called the Barashith.
African book of Genesis called the Barashith.
Barashith.
but
Go ahead.
I don't like how you building this up because it appears as if you can't talk about Lilith unless she's attached to an Adam. What I want to know is a particular Adam's wife, and at any point in time, do we talk about Lilith outside of her relationship to Adam?
You and your woman talk again. You and your woman. Why are we making this about woman? Just leave Lilith. Let me bait Uncle Sarab from a man point of view. Not no Lilith. You have that Lilith spirit inside you. No, that's what I'm saying. I just saying. So in one of these, like, let me quote Erin now because she's my narrative. In this Lilith story, there's an Adam. See, Adam's the subject.
I understand.
Yes. Adam's the subject, right? In this Lilith story, I was told that Lilith was evil. She's one of them women who like dictate to man and control man them. And man just want Lilith to just rule.
I just saying.
See the Lilith spirit again?
If Adam was asleep for 1,000 years,
Yes.
and Lilith was charged with doing all the work,
No, that would be Eve.
No, I mean, that would be the Europa, Adam and Eve.
Okay.
But if Adam was asleep for 1,000 years and Lilith was not and was charged with doing all of the work, and for 1,000 years, when Adam woke up, I mean, maybe she was just telling him, she's just giving him a 1,000-year briefing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like rowing and instructions, but she was with the last
I hear
1,000
you.
years.
But when Adam was asleep, he was dealing with a different woman. He wasn't dealing with Lilith. Lilith then gone with Samuel. You know who Samuel is? That's why I can get Uncle to explain that. Because Lilith was dating Samuel.
Now you sounding like a Ronnie Butler song.
Yeah. Yeah. But we could get all of that, right? We're gonna have the what I call that large people version, and then we're gonna have the book. What this book is you have again called?
It's the original books of the Bible. This is the Barashith. And then I also have the papyrus before the Barashith, which is the first 14 books before Genesis.
You mean there's books before Genesis?
Correct.
Genesis is the beginning? You know, Genesis means the beginning, right?
No,
it can't be a pre-beginning.
It doesn't mean that.
Genesis don't mean the beginning?
No, when they say Rashith, it's talking about a recreation. It's talking about a replenishment. It's talking about a chief moment in time that allowed for those who were replenishing the earth to be able to do so.
So you're saying Genesis is a...
It's in the beginning, but it's not at the beginning. That's what we talked about.
You say Genesis is in or not at?
Correct.
And there's a at the beginning scriptures, and now we're in the beginning scriptures?
You could say that. Yeah.
So, okay. So let's go back to you. You go ahead, Aaron.
My
sure?
eyes were talking, but I didn't say anything.
You and your Lilith.
I'm managing it.
I'm managing it. Yeah. Okay. Let's go in terms of Lilith. Who is this Lilith that Aaron keep on asking about? What Aaron wants to know about? And was she a good wife to Adam?
So let's be clear. Let's look at it. Before we look at it as a person, let's look at it as a term first. The word Lilith translates as a creature of the night or a lady of the night, a Lilith, yes? And before we get to the Genesis Adam, right, because we talked about these three different Adams, this reality of a Lilith comes by way of, so we started the conversation with the wars in the heavens, and Satan was cast out of the heavens and cast into the earth. So now this war's in the earth. When they are cast out into the earth, in the book of Genesis chapter 6, it talks about the sons of God coming in unto the daughters of men, or the sons of God taking the daughters of men. It was two groups. The first group are these disagreeables. These, they call them Raphaims or Zuzims or Mms. You see this in the book 14.
Is that where the word ruffian comes from? Maybe not.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up. Yeah, but it could be, right? But these Raphaims, these are the giants.
Okay.
All right. So in Genesis 6, they talk about these giants in the earth. The Zuzims, these are the wild, demonic, beastly beings. Then you have the Mms, who are those who they incited terror, right? But what they were able to do was mix their seed in with those who were already here. In doing that, and I'm giving you a truncated version based on time, right? In doing that, their physique was, as they would say, perfectly voluptuous. These were the people who have the muscles and the tattoos even. They talk about their tattooed bodies. They talk about their sex appeal. These were people who ruled by sex. These were people who utilized sex to control people. All right? This is where the term succubus and incubus comes into play. So this Lilith, she was a succubus. She was one who utilized the Aryan doctrines of the Kama Sutra. And this Aryan doctrine, because a lot of these are versions of the Kama Sutra, we don't get the whole thing. We get a portion of it. But within the Kama Sutra, there are aspects of the Kama Sutra that teaches one how to control a person utilizing sex. You understand? So this Lilith, she was, in today's language, a prostitute. She was one who they would say was a woman of the night. All right? That's important because by the time as you get, so that's the Lilith in the earlier records. When you get to the Lilith in what's called the Barashith, which is now many years later, she is one of the rulers of the 4 remaining tribes after a major meteorite shower. So in Genesis, when you read Genesis chapter 1, you're talking about 49 to 50,000 years. And in Genesis 2, you were talking about another 49 to 50,000 years. We're at the end of that 50,000 year period of Genesis chapter 2 in this day and time. So this reality of a Lilith, she's one of 4, because they talk about 4 different rivers in Genesis. They talk about the White Nile, the Blue Nile, they say the Pishon and the Gishon. On the White and the Blue Nile, you had those who were called the Cushites and the Hawalites. We're not talking about them today. This is the White and Blue Nile. On the Tigris and Euphrates River, you have another 2 rulers, one called Semyaza Atum. So this Semyaza Atum, he would be an Adam. They would say Adam in today's language, right? So this is where the conversation of Adam had a wife called Lilith. In truth, he was one of those who lived along the Tigris and the Euphrates River. His name was Semyaza Atum, and he was the head of the Atumites. And then you had his wife called the Queen Mother Lilith. Now, the Queen Mother Lilith, she is different from this Lilith that we reference in the first papyrus because she wanted to put a stop to that behavior. All right? She's from those people who had 6 fingers.
That's my Lilith.
That's your Lilith there.
Six fingers, 6 toes, where they talk about Goliath.
Yeah.
She's of those people. These are people who, they say, rule the night. These are people who utilize the Kama Sutra. This is why she is being referenced, because when in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, when it say God took this dust and he breathed the breath of life into this dust. They weren't talking about actual dirt from the ground. They're talking about the fact that when you dry out blood, hematologists, in order to preserve blood, they will separate the certain aspects of the blood from the plasma. So the part that's separated from the plasma, it becomes dust. So they were utilizing the characteristics of the Cushites and the Howlites in the Nile, and the characteristics of the Atomites, or those who were of Simyaza, and the Kuthites. Right? So you have one that is more aggressive and one that's less aggressive. You're trying to merge a being that has enough aggression to protect itself, but not so much aggression that you go out and you just terrorize people.
Right.
And so this is why when you have the Cain and Abel story, they realize, well, Abel, you wasn't aggressive enough, and Cain, you was. And so that's a whole nother show. But
that's not Seth we're talking about.
No, not yet.
Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to be clear. The Queen Mother Lilith, she wants to put an end to that behavior. You understand? Her husband is an Atum or Adam. You understand? Once you begin to go further into this story, you start to learn about other Adams with regard to there being a perpetual seed where anytime you have a renewal of or you have a remnant that's being utilized to rebirth or replenish a society, those are called Adamites. There have been many of them. You understand? We talked about 3 to kind of give a context of or reality of how they've taken these records and they've really, really just conflated a lot of different stories. They've made people, places, and places, people, and one person could have been a tribe, and a tribe could have been one person. And they did that intentionally because it makes it very difficult for us in this day and time to actually find our way through these scriptures. But because we have the original books of the Bible, and because we have guidance by a seed called the gene Isis, where you get the word Genesis from, and the seed of the gene Nasarian. These are the males and the females who still had the ability to remember these stories, either by way of having access to records or having access to their DNA. When we say you have a divinity within you, you have the stories, you have the records in you, but you have to tap into those things. Yes.
Can you reference the figure? It's like your DNA, each unit of your DNA has a tetrabyte. Like imagine.
Oh, in terms of
multiply that by 1,000. The amount of actual data.
Yeah.
And that data is your ancestral line.
So within the doctrine of atonism, we recognize that we didn't call this aspect. There are 9 different aspects of our being. One they call it the soul, but we call it the Ba. You have a Ba, which is being referenced as the soul, and then you have what's called a Ba'u. A Ba'u would be a generational soul, would be the people that you ultimately have come from.
That's
that's what you're talking about.
And generational trauma and
correct.
Carrying genetics along the line. Yeah.
So today, in today's world, where they are mapping the human genome and they are trying to find out where did the code go off to cause a particular disease. Well, that same thing happened with us. Even though we talk about 400 years of slavery or 6,000 years of slavery, depending on who you ask and what record you consult, that's still a very, very small amount of time in our story. Even though to us as individuals it's a long period of time, but that trauma that has been introduced to us, it passes down through what they call and this epigenetics doesn't only allow trauma to be passed down, but it also allows actual ancient ancestral wisdom to be passed on. When they say AI, we saying ancestral intelligence.
Yeah.
not just artificial intelligence. You see what I'm saying?
And perhaps that's exactly where they modeled the term from.
Yeah.
So let me interject here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a story that circulates. A number of people are aware of it. I guess Lilith's story, right? Where it says that Adam was trying to subject this Lilith, and she didn't want to be to the bottom. So there, she then said the secret name of God. So they said, whatever, if God has a secret name.
Right.
And then she vanished and reappeared to one river. Have you heard that narrative?
Not in that way. What happens is the story of a secret word is the story of one called Aset, who wanted the secret word of her grandfather Ray. And in that story, which I can't recall fully off the top of my head, but in that story, this sacred word was needed to heal somebody. All right, they take a portion of that story, and they're also merging it with edda text. You know, because when you talk about the edda text and you talk about those beings who ultimately gave rise to the Romans, all right, because they talk about Romulus and Remus. And they talk about the fact that Romulus and Remus, they both saw themselves as royalty because their mother, Rhea Silvia, she was a priest. Father was the god of war, Mars. And eventually, this Cain and Abel story arises out of this reality or this story of Romulus and Remus having a fight. And one of them kills the other one to be king. And then you have the Caesars and those who are of the Roman hierarchy saying that they come out of this line of Romulus and Remus. Well, they have a whole doctrine called the Edda text, the Prose Edda. And so there are stories that are being taken from that. There are stories that are being taken from the Sumerian or the Cushite Babylonian text, as well as the Tamarian, or they would say Egyptian, but Tamarian text. And they're being merged together to form a narrative that could literally control a group of people, that being us.
Let me ask this question. I can bait Aaron also. Does the Coptic Church believe in demons? Demons, demonology? Because I know we have a lot of Christian religions who now there's exorcise demons as a way of life. That's the whole church. There ain't no atonement or ain't no salvation in their church.
Right.
They just the church of exorcising demons.
Right.
Right. Lilith was supposed to be the mother of demons. Right. She's birthed demons as a fun. Every time she copulate, one next demon born. Right. If the Coptic Church believe in demons, what is demons? What are demons? You know what a demon is, Aaron? What's a demon, Aaron? Why are you looking at me like that?
Why are you looking at me like I'm some sort of expert?
I just try to know if you know what a demon is.
No, I don't. I've not met a demon.
No?
Right. But I read this book called Good Omens. And the angel and the demon was talking, and the demon was upset because you have feelings. I understand that demons could have feelings.
Demons have feelings?
And the angel is like, "Why are you upset?" He's like, "I'm not a good enough demon, man. I'm not working hard enough." And the angel is like, "No, AT, you created that.
Yeah.
Among other things, you are a very good demon. Don't feel that way about yourself."
It's like God created salad and demon created salad dressing just to kill you. But let's go. Yeshua exorcised demons.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And Yeshua was supposed to be Jesus,
Yeah.
but there's no J inside the Bible, and they just created one Jesus word.
Right.
According to people, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I want to know if
That's
Christian
factual.
people realize there's no J. Why do they still call him Jesus if there's
Right.
no such word?
Right.
Or we just what happened? But anyway, we talk about demons.
Well, that's a part of the demonic hierarchy that controls religion today. When those angels, if you want to call it that, when Satan's army was cast out, they were cast out according to by Istanjil. They were cast out in the form of viruses, bacteria, and germs. This is why if a meteorite were to land in, let's say, a meteorite hit here in Nassau, they're not going to want you to go and interact with that meteor without, they can have hazmat suits on. They're going to have ways to protect themselves because they know that meteorite could have introduced new bacteria instrumental to us. All right? So we do have evidence of bacteria coming into this planet via meteorites. All right?
So you're saying that some of the fallen angels could be viruses?
Viruses, bacteria, and germs.
So
This is-
perhaps these sexual disease viruses is demonic type plagues?
I want anybody listening right now to think about the way of life that is referred to as immoral, a way of life that is referred to as even demonic. Even going back to sayings, cleanliness is next to godliness. Even going back to one of the names of the devil, Beelzebub, Lord of the flies. Yes? Flies come out of maggots, right? If you just go Google a magnified version of a magnet and look at it and see what it looks like, right? But these viruses, bacteria, and germs is what we, as the original people of the planet, we saw that as demonic. And what a virus, a bacteria, a germ, especially viruses, what they do is they go into their host and they hijack the actual, in some instances, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. That particular virus is supposed to go in and hijack the immune system of the host, which allows for that particular virus to possess that particular host. The reality of what we now know as demons today are a manifestation of those viruses, bacteria, and germs. We're looking at the host of the virus, bacteria, and germs. So when you see a person suffering from what they call dysmorphia, I'm going to change the way my body actually looks. We have subtle forms of it today with permanent hair and bleaching skin. But I'm talking about the people who literally will take metal and different things and put it in their forehead to make themselves look more reptilian. Or they're going to clip their tongue to make their tongue look forked. They're going to tattoo their eyeballs. They're going to tattoo their face to give their skin color a particular color. Well, what is it that is driving that behavior? It is the actual bacteria, viruses, and germs that have hijacked that particular person and says, I now own this body, and you're going to now look like what I look like. And if you go and you research how these viruses, bacteria, and germs, if you look at the microscopic organisms, they look like little demons. You understand? But that story of the Messiah casting out the demons out of this man in the graveyard, and he said he was cutting himself and he was doing all these different things, they asked to go inside the pig. And after going into the pig, then they say the pigs were drowned into the water. But why did they want to go into the pig?
The pig doesn't sweat.
The pig doesn't sweat. The pig harbors many viruses, bacteria, and germs. As a matter of fact,
what you trying to say?
and matter of fact, one of the main parasites in the pig, the worm that causes trichinosis, that particular parasite attacks the heart and the brain. It attacks the whole body, but in particular the heart and the brain. These are the two organs. When we talk about the Christ or the Christ consciousness, the Christ or the Christ consciousness aims to become one with the heart and the brain. So if that brain and that heart has already been hijacked, now you have a people who are, in the book of Matthew 24, verse 37, it says that the heart has been waxed cold. Waxed cold in the Greek is the word psycho. You could look this up in the Blue Letter Bible. So we've become psychotic. We've become people who have lost the connection to our own divinity, whereby we've become more demonic.
Mm-hmm.
There's various variations of the Bible, right? And I'm going to go and say the Catholicism Bible, only because...
Latin Vulgate.
Okay, let's call it the Latin Bible, right? Only because I know about the meeting of Nicaea, Nicene meeting, right? And they created a religion. And this religion will be called Catholicism or Roman Catholics, right? And then that went to Anglicanism, then that gone to Methodism, then that gone to Baptism, right? So technically all is basically Catholicism in general.
A universal
religion, but different variation of this universal religion. Why would your religion be more Christ-like? How you pronounce Christ-like again inside your
Christ?
The Christ-like, in contrast to Catholicism and the Roman Empireism, religion. Surely the Roman Empireism, that universal religion, should be more dominant. And that means that the various variations of it, the Baptists, the Anglicans, anyone else who came from it, right, who was a part of this universal religion, surely that should be superior. It can't be your religion superior. This New Age religion from this Roman Catholics people is superior. That's why we are part of this universal religion. That's why I Baptist, because I attach to that religion.
It was in chattel slavery. That's not why we attached to this religion.
But that too. But we ain't talking about slavery today. I see you trying.
No, I'm not. No, I just
You
saying.
see you trying to beat me. I see
No,
you.
because if Anglicanism, Methodism, Lutheranism,
Yeah, all part of the universal church, Catholic.
right, are plagiarized, expanded versions of Catholicism, then what is Catholicism?
The mean religion. That's what God come and give us.
It is a plagiarized or expanded version of an older cultural space.
Go ahead, because I have callers who call in and they want to talk to you. You want to respond to that before we go to the callers? You call now, callers. Call now.
Yeah, let me
You ready? Because I have the callers to go. No, you ready?
let me answer that question.
Go ahead.
first. What we're calling the Catholic Church, right? They represent. You mentioned the Ecumenical Council of 325 AD. The Holy Coptic Church is many, many, many years before that particular. Each religion has a spirituality attached to it. The religion of what we're calling the Catholic Church today comes out of what is called Rahowa, or the term is racial holy war. This Catholicism is ultimately coming out of the cult of Caesar. All right, the book that I wrote along with Basesh is called Yahshua, the African Messiah They Don't Want You to Know About. This is just an excerpt of it. This first council held at Nicaea was in fact the cult of Caesar holding a meeting which was used to restructure their wicked, paganistic, and pleasure-seeking cult in such a way as to rebrand their old Greco-Roman cult into a new church called Cathalu, or Catholicos, universally accepted by Europeans, best known in this latter day as the Roman Catholic Church. It was built for their progeny, the Europeans. We as Africans already had a way of life. You
Let's go to the callers. I hear you. You just don't want me to be Christian. Go ahead, caller. Caller.
Hey, Uncle.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, 52.
Yeah, hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Uncle. The phone is a little low. What I'm saying is the doctrine of papacy. What Mr. Newry don't understand, it doesn't matter with Anglican and all these different religions. All of them still have the same ideology. So who else believes in this doctrine of vicarious Christi and transubstantiation within the African religious entity? Because I see it as BS. I mean, how could the Pope, who gave the Pope the power to do this? That's what I'm saying. Just explain that, please, because I like up and listen.
God give it to him. God give the Pope that power. Let's go to the next caller.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But who was God to them? God to them was the government. God to them was Caesar. This is what Romans 13 talks about. Romans 13 say, be subject to the government. It don't tell you be subject to God.
Interesting.
Which is the root of that cryptic conversation about Miles Monroe when he said, "I'm not a Christian. Don't call me a Christian."
Jesus wasn't a Christian.
See, if you're in a Christian, you're going to heaven anyway. Just let you know, if you're in a Christian, you're going to heaven. Go ahead,
ain't
caller.
there then.
He ain't gonna be there.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to know if your prayer is supposed to move you or to move God, but then you could answer that when I'm finished.
Is that general prayer, or is that a general you? Or is that a
You, I mean, when
Cahoon
you pray because
specifically?
you're feeling something, is it supposed to move God to solve the problem, or should you move yourself to
It's
find the
supposed
answer
to
to
move the
problem?
divinity within you.
It's the
Okay.
faith that moved the mountain.
Yeah. Now, there was an All Saints Day going on in 1755 in Lisbon, I think in Portugal, November 1st. This great earthquake came, and between 10,000 and 100,000 people were destroyed. And is that because God, as I taught him, as I learned to be the generator, the operator, and the destroyer, was that the destroyer part of God letting these Catholics know that they are sinful and they need to repent and perhaps stop this wicked nonsense that they were doing? And then for you, Mr. Newry, how many dinosaurs were on the ark?
I can answer that. No, I can
How many?
answer that. You want me to tell you the answer to that?
How many dinosaurs?
I found that I just recently concluded that the Ark was a repository of DNA. And I for sure, if it's just DNA, I could hold tens of thousands of DNA in a small place. Amen? Look at that. I'd be
Okay,
quoting
but
scripture.
I mean,
that was good. Don't lie. That was good.
I thought there were other animals because they
All in
thought-
DNA form. All in DNA. Put them in small cells in them. What is called them things? Them things you put DNA.
Petri dish.
The petri dish. I can hold thousands, tens of
Oh,
thousands
that's
in a
what
room.
it was. It wasn't a boat.
The ark is just a place of holding knowledge.
So we've been really given a bunch of information that's incorrect. Uncle, I really like listening to you. Dinosaurs were wiped out by the time Noah came around.
They'll come back.
Well, it's not necessarily that you're being lied to. It's that you've been giving information in an incorrect context, which is even worse than being lied to, I think. Their parents, you all remember that.
Because when the Council of Nicaea was formed, it wasn't formed for African people. It wasn't formed for indigenous people. It was
So,
for,
Uncle, would you say that your church has the truth and all the others are lies?
Look at this. That's a big question, by the way.
No, we recognize that on the planet, each group of people ultimately had their records. We as Africans had various records, and every tribe didn't. The Zulus didn't try to make the Ashanti Zulus and vice versa. You understand? The tribes of the north in North Africa weren't trying to convert the tribes of South Africa to their way of living and understanding. We understand that there's a universal truth or reality that's governed by a universal law called Ma'at. And that Ma'at says that we must do that which brings balancement. You understand? The truth is the law. According to Psalm 119, 142, it says the truth is the law. So the law or guide those people who are following that law to maintain balance. Now, what you need to maintain balance versus what I need to maintain balance may be different. So we understand that our records are for the African people. Our records, we're not asking the Europeans or the Chinese or the Indians or the Pale Arabs to come amongst us.
And there's a text here that basically says, what is your guest talking about? It's madness. How do you believe this, right? I mean, I say to particularly people of African descent, but it goes to any race. How is it that Africans have been made to believe that their God is white?
Right.
When every other religion has a God.
That looks like them.
And that spiritual experience is acknowledged and honored by other racial groups, other ethnic groups.
Right.
But when it comes to Africans,
Correct.
we've been told to believe that Jesus was a white man that looked like he was born in Sweden, never saw the sun ever in his life.
Right.
And him one looked like that.
Right.
His mother didn't look like that.
No.
Right? His father, his cousins didn't look like that.
They honor and they worship the Black Madonna.
Right. I
Who's
mean, even
supposed to be
Putin, when Putin is feeling nice and he gives gifts to diplomats and dignitaries visiting, the icons, religious memorabilia, are black saints
Yes.
and black Jesus and a black Madonna.
Yes.
Y'all with your black Christ. Y'all keep on going back to this black Christ.
The one that's mentioned in the Bible. The only one mentioned in the Bible. Ain't no white Christ mentioned in the Bible. So I don't know who he
Y'all
is.
just reading the wrong Bible. That's all it is. Because we know what color Jesus is.
In every version that I have read, and anybody who has a different one, please call in and let us know what it says. But Revelation chapter 1, 12 through 15 is describing an African man.
Call I saw you. Sorry that I was just getting ready to point to you.
It's a
but call
Lilith
back.
spirit.
It's a Lilith spirit? Okay.
And I know you was calling to break that up.
So, we got to go to commercial break? Oh, yes, it's time for commercial. Let me read this, right? 242 Day. 242 Day on Saturday, February 24th. This and every 24th of February, the 24th day of the second month. Show your Bahamian pride. Fly your Bahamian flags. Wear your Bahamian flag colors. Eat Bahamian foods. Create and listen to Bahamian music. Donate in sequence of 242. Do something 242 times or 2.42 times, etc. Merchants, please consider pricing your items $2.42 or $242, etc. Let's have fun. 242 Day, which is February 24th, where we celebrate everything 242. And that means you got to do things 242. I see you, caller. If you can hold on, we're going to take you as soon as we come back from this short commercial break. We're speaking to Cajon, Uncle Sarah, or Reverend Dr., he is a real doctor, Cleveland Ineas III. So we'll be right back.
March 8th, 2024 is International Women's Day. Guardian Media wants all Bahamians to truly inspire inclusion. It's not just something we should say or something we should write about. It's something we need to think about, know, and embrace. It's what we should believe in unconditionally. This International Women's Day, Guardian Media wants you and your company to inspire inclusion. Celebrate the women in your organization this International Women's Day by placing them in an ad in our International Women's Day supplement. For more information, call 302-2300 or contact your account executive. The aim of the International Women's Day 2024 campaign is to collectively forge a more inclusive world for women. March 8th, 2024. Inspire inclusion.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. Of course, the lines are lit up. So I'm going to go to the callers and then have uncles respond. I know we have limited time. Just an hour show. Go ahead, caller.
Early days is so stark in a ways.
Go ahead, Bremen.
We need justice, law, and order in the Bahamas here. Namastu.
Namastu, Elder.
Well, Uncle, you know what I want you to do for me? Mm-hmm. Clarify this for me, please. So white people, right? Mm-hmm. They came out of, they came out of the mountain, right? Mm-hmm. You had the north and the south, right? Mm-hmm. Now we know the Caucasian came out of the mountain. What sort of people was to the north, and what part of people, what sort of people were to the south? Different from the people that came, the Caucasian who came out of the mountain. Explain that to me. What sort of people were? So that gave me the mind that we had three different set of people during that time.
And why do we call phenotypically white people, right? Why do we call them Caucasians when the people from the Caucasus Mountains look like they're from Long Island? Right. But the people in the Nordic regions are what we mean Caucasian.
Right. Well, in the book of Genesis chapter 10, and they talk about the sons of Canaan, you're talking about 11 plus 1 tribes, all right? One of those original tribes would have manifested some 8,400 years ago on into 6,000 years ago. So in Genesis, by the time as you read about one called Canaan, who is out of the lineage of who they call Noah, this word, Canaan, his name was originally Laban, milky white person. He had what was called vitiligo today. Mm-hmm. But he was called a lowlander. He was not originally born in the mountains like those who were there before him. Mm-hmm. Once he understood that he couldn't live amongst his people, because he wasn't white, and so he still had woolly hair. Mm-hmm. You understand? But he eventually moved up into those mountains and began to mix with those who were already there and further decay. So when you say Caucasians, within the records, they talk about the carcass Asian or this decaying Asian, or those who are at the end of the genetic strain, all right? Which is why if you look up the website on albinism, it's called NOAA, National Organization of Albinism and Hypopigmentation, all right? So they understood that this NOAA that they were talking about was talking about one who was at the end of the genetic strain, or one who was moving towards extinction, not able to reproduce, all right? Not me saying it. This is what the science is showing us. So there were different tribes, and there were different manifestations of I don't have time to get into it now.
There's a theory that the Ma'afa conception of the Ma'afa is when those Caucasians or those light-skinned people came down into Africa, went into the libraries. Africans taught them the origin of themselves, the science of them, and that they realized how easily they came into existence, where they were, and how easily they could disappear.
Well, if you go back into the realities of the Aryan race who were coming down, who were raining down out of the Caucasus Mountains, they rained down onto those Africans that were in the Harappan civilization and pushed them further south. Some went in that direction, others went in other directions. The Huns, and they talk about these Huns that came out of those mountains as well, and they were mixing, they were bleaching the indigenous people. You understand? So the reality ultimately was that they were a manifestation of the guardian angelic hosts trying to graft the disagreeableness out of the indigenous people. All right. Again, we don't have time.
After being interfered with by the
because originally those bacteria, viruses, and germs, they were in melanated people. The first devil is the black devil.
It's a black devil?
Yeah, because we don't know why people existed.
There you go. Let's go to this call because I want to ask you about them. I really 30 seconds.
Why you feel better now?
Those spiritual ties. Because people say you have sex with people and you get connected. Let's respond to that. Go ahead, caller. We only have 30 seconds, man. Caller, going once. Caller, no, go on. Oh, sorry, but
I'll say tune in to Love Lies Liberation this weekend, where we're going to be talking about just that, this idea of removing the freak out of the bedroom, and this idea that yes, you can have spiritual ties with a person when you lay down.
You saying
with
being
them.
freaky might be demonic?
Well, not freaky in the sense.
Because I wouldn't tie people up.
Well, that's slavery.
You become a bounty hunter. You do that. Become a bounty hunter. Because it makes me think of, take it out of the sort of sexual intimacy realm.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Jehovah's Witnesses and their rules around blood and not receiving blood transfusions, but they will take plasma, right? And then
quickly, just
we
30
talk
seconds.
about soul ties and.
Let's do this. Let's call this caller. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Go ahead, caller. You're 30 seconds. I squeezing you in. Caller going once. I try my best.
They're trying to call the Eastern Africans, the Somalis, the Sudanese, because of their phenotype and the whole lack of them racism. They're trying to call them Caucasians to try to vicariously implant themselves into history. So they try to say the Caucasianness actually starts.
Who's calling them that?
Africa. Before they even get to the Caucasus Mountain, because they call that phenotype Caucasian too because of the features.
Because of the nose, right? The narrow features, right? I'm going to ask him on Lebanon in an attempt to capture that space as theirs and reclaim it as theirs.
Lebanon, that's why they call it the line of Canaan.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 seconds about spiritual ties, and then what you say with this love? Something.
Love Lies Liberation is our final week. Just go to journeyhomegroup.com. It's like $12. You can join in online. We have actual medical doctors, psychiatrists, clinicians that are going to be discussing these things, priests, etc. They're going to be talking about these things. And you're going to be
talking about the power of the menstrual cycle for the woman in and of itself, and then within the relationship.
I don't know if it's going to come up this weekend, but we do talk about that.
Yeah, he's talking about soul ties. I know where he's going.
Yeah.
But I just want to know if these people haunted me and followed me from way back then when I was young.
You're exchanging secretions. When you lay with a person, you're exchanging secretions. So
for kissing.
Yeah, spell the word kiss backwards.
Sick.
That's what it means.
That's why I don't kiss people, you know. You see what I mean? I see what the Jehovah's say. You can't be taking every blood from everybody.
Listen, next week
the
show has to be called. So you mean that's what my Grammy was talking about? I never realized.
Anyway, it has been Guardian Radio the Air with C.A. Newry. Thank you very much, Dr. Cleveland Inyas III, Cahoon, Uncle Sarah. Have a wonderful day. Thanks very much, Aaron Green. Thanks again.
Namastu.
Namastu.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.